Vishy, so Vishy has joined. Let's bring in Thomas and Mayank as well. There you guys are. Fantastic. So everybody's coming from all parts of the world, I think, right?
Yes, thank you, Chip. I'm coming from San Francisco, and my co-panelists, Vishy is from India and Thomas is from Europe. It's great to be hosting this session with you, both Vishy and Thomas. So let's kickstart with a few quick introductions. I'm the CEO and co-founder of WorkSpan. And at WorkSpan, we provide a platform that enables our customers to manage their go-to-market with their ecosystem partners. And the go-to-market includes putting a process together so that they can build joint solutions with their partners, then putting a process together so that they can do joint marketing for demand gen to get out there in the market, and then managing the co-sell process so that they can do collaborative selling and servicing of their end customers. We at WorkSpan partner very closely with Wipro, who provides the services, the methodology for our shared customers on how to manage their ecosystems and run the day-to-day processes and needs that need to happen behind the scene so that we can orchestrate the ecosystem for good results. So in that context, I'm delighted to introduce our panelist, Thomas Mueller, to you. Thomas is the CTO of the Wipro's Engineering Services Group. Thomas, could you share a little bit about your role at Wipro?
Yeah, first of all, many thanks to you and the entire WorkSpan team for inviting us. We're really humbled to be here and partner with you. We started this journey with you about 6 months ago, and in Wipro Engineering Services, that is my role. We are overseeing a huge portfolio of offerings. To simplify, we could say anything from the chip to the cloud. Semi-design, system designs, all the way to connected systems. And as such, we have a huge ecosystem of partners that we're working with, partners that we sell to, partners that use us as a system integrator, partners whose solution we take to the market as part of our engineered solutions that we deliver to customers. It's a almost infinite complex scenario of partnerships. And when I looked at WorkSpan first 6 months ago, I quickly got my head around this, and I got really excited, and we started the partnership together. And I think since we made tremendous inroads into the market and uncovered almost every month a whole raft of new scenarios where WorkSpan has become, to me, and I keep proudly saying this, kind of a Swiss knife for many of the ecosystem challenges that we look to address in Wipro and for our customers. And I haven't had a single meeting, of course, with the support of your team, where we didn't come out and had our eyes that really were excited about what they heard, and we're taking the next step. So I'm really humbled to be in a partnership with you.
Thank you, Thomas. So are we? We're very excited about that. And I would like to also welcome Vishy, who's joining us on the panel. Vishy is the VP and business head of Wipro's 5G business group, servicing across all the industries that Wipro serves. Vishy, could you say a little bit about your role at Wipro?
Sure, Mike, thanks for inviting me, and happy to be there in this panel. In Wipro, my role is to look at what 5G can do for various industries that Wipro addresses across all industry verticals and across all types of services. So I curate a lot of solutions, working along with many partners, build them together and take that to the market directly and along with partners. So that's my role, is to build solutions to solve customer problems using 5G as an enabler. And I run as a part of the CTO initiative within Wipro, where we incubate new technologies. So 5G is one of the new technologies getting incubated. So an ecosystem and partnership is something which is very key for our success.
Awesome. So I wanted to take a minute and show a particular visual to bring some preciseness and to the discussions that we have been having this morning. Going to market with partners essentially consists about orchestrating or coordinating with your partners to put together joint solutions, and then engage with the end in mind, which is engage with them in collaborative selling, either through sell through or sell with, so that both you and the partners that you have coordinated can acquire customers and service the customers together. So this coordinated build of a joint solutions and then the coordinated selling of joint solutions, you would not be surprised, is actually a business process, right? To manage it at that scale, you have to put a business process together that helps you and your partners come together and achieve your common end goals. So in joint solution build, the business process essentially looks at like this process or a variant of this process, where the idea of a joint solution starts from being a mere idea in somebody's mind. Then it needs to go through a business model review. Once it's green lighted, then an architecture has to be defined that combines your products with your partner's products. So that then once the architecture gets approved across both or multiple companies, engineering has to happen around that architecture. Then a lot of packaging needs to be done, where the right kind of marketing resources, sales enablement, solution enablement, all of those packages from your company, your partner's company have to come together. Then you got to certify this joint solution so that it can operate in different industries, in different regions. Across, in your company as well as in your partner's company, so that they are all compliant. And then finally release happens. And once the release happens to the market, then the co-sell process takes over. And the co-sell process is a similar process where there is, steps of nomination of opportunities all the way to deal close in coordination with the partners. So these processes are cross-company processes, and different partners are participating in different solutions of your portfolio. And if we open up one more layer of the onion, each of these solutions, as was discussed in the panel before, these are multi-partner solutions, right? Because no single company is the best in the components that are needed to serve the solution. So you'll almost always have an application provider or working with a hyperscaler like a cloud, somebody who takes care of moving the data back and forth and reporting on the data securely. So a BI and an enterprise service bus company, connectors. There are connectivity providers where telecoms comes in. And finally, this needs to be managed, operated at scale. And that's where services companies come in so that they can run a managed service back for the customer. So orchestration is around orchestrating different teams in these component providers so that not only can you build it, but then you can work with them to sell it and then continue to service it. And that is the challenge in rolling out and orchestrating ecosystems. It comes down to how do you coordinate and orchestrate these processes so that methodically things work, exceptions get caught. And the reason it is complex is this process is not happening inside a single company. It is actually happening across multiple companies, and therefore the complexity piles up in a multiplicative manner because you have to coordinate across companies, across stakeholders, and the certification steps in your company are different from the certification steps in your partner's company. So this coordination is what makes it all challenging. But this coordination is what makes it also uniquely valuable in the sense that if your company manages to do this coordination, a lot of your competitors will fail because they just can't do this coordination. And therein lies this amazing opportunity to go out and win absolutely new use cases in new markets. Right? Now, in this context, the panelists describe the excitement around doing all of this. In this session, we're going to talk about how is this dish made in the kitchen? How do you run a process end to end? What metrics do you monitor? What architecture principles do you keep in mind? What methodology principles have we learned between WorkSpan and Wipro so that, using a platform and a methodology, you can have a higher win rate in the market. So in this context, Thomas, let me turn to you first. In the IoT and Industry 4.0 market, the telecom companies are now partnering with technology companies, right? It's gone from the old world where telecom companies used to OEM the technology components and provide a single solution to the customer where it was owned and operated in a walled garden. And now more open architectures are being put in place so that the customer can be served coexisting with a hyperscaler or a MSP or an SI partner. You've been part of this industry for several years, and you have seen the first wave of products come with OEM solutions, and now you're seeing the second wave of products come with open architectures. So could you talk a little bit about what challenges do you see your customers face as they engage in this process of co-building and co-selling?
Yeah, Mayank, I did a bit of retro digging because this time of the year, exactly 20 years ago, 2 decades ago, we had the internet bubble bust, the .com bubble bust, if you remember that. And I remember at the time we went through, we incubated application service providing, which, eventually became cloud computing today. And we were building a lot of marketplaces at the time. And, we used technologies from companies like Commerce One, Broadvision, Blue Martini Software. I wonder if you ever heard about those names. To me, it was a bit of a retro digging to see what happened to them. And these marketplaces, and subsequently we created, when I worked for a large European carrier, Deutsche Telekom, we built half a dozen of marketplaces in each opcos for the different customer segments. And retrospectively, none of those marketplaces delivered great success, great returns. So ultimately, we have to rethink, why did that not work out as we were hoping it would? And I mean, they had in commonality that they were typically a single ownership. They were tightly controlled. They were very much catalog orientated. And just to give you some data points and the audience some data points, when we created offerings in an environment of a large platform operator like Deutsche Telekom, it took us at least 6 months, not to say 12 months, to create a new offering. That could have been, just to make it simple, a solution to manage mobile devices, a mobile device management solution. And we only picked maybe one provider. We picked, let's say, Mobile Iron, or we picked VMware as a partner, AirWatch, for example, for that. But it took us still 6 to 12 months to get to the first milestone that we can give that offering to our sales forces to start actually talking to customers. We had the price points defined. It took close to a year. And then the next milestone to take this into production, ready for service, could easily be another 6 to 12 months to really be able to be productive with this. And that was just coordinating typically one partner very tightly. Now, these offerings are very static. They're not very agile. They're very costly to maintain. So all the collaterals that had to be created along the solution process, from the design perspective, the high level designs, the detail level designs, everything that you need to move it into production, the certification, the validation that you had to do, all those collaterals were created. And then, if I looked over the fence, then my competitor, let's say Vodafone at the time, would have done exactly the same. They would have done exactly the same with Mobile Iron, the same partner that I have chosen, and they would go through the same process. They were not any faster. They had to spend similar amount of money and time on to get this offering out. And that happened across the industry. So we're barely able to reuse solutions that were constituted only by a single or maybe by a few partners at the time. And that is very expensive and clearly did not work out very well. It's not a very scalable process. So when we spoke first and we got to get an understanding what WorkSpan is, the digitalization of this process, the offering management process, is one of the absolutely outstanding benefits that WorkSpan provides. It allows me to really digitize the full process. And secondly, it allows me to reuse the offering creation work that goes into it and make it accessible to multiple partners that either become contributors, sales partners, resale partners, in an ever increasing complex ecosystem. So you're creating basically a platform that is able to release the synergies of an agile ecosystem to its connected partners and make every step of the way transparent, whether it is pipeline reviews on opportunities from a sales perspective, whether it is the collaterals from a technical integration process. So it really makes the whole thing scalable. That applies to many, many industries, not just for telecom operators. That applies to automotive suppliers equally. In 20 years, the infotainment systems have been reinvented 100 times over. It's absolutely crazy, just because maybe one slight chip was different in this industry and everybody has done it all over again for the next model, and so forth and so forth. We can go across a lot of industries, healthcare devices and so forth. And that is where the beauty of your platform comes in. We are able to really synergize on this platform. The processes and the data model that you have implemented is perfectly suited for that. And we can use integration as a service platforms to really quickly, agile, connect existing systems from connected ecosystem partners and bring them to work together so we can be productive and on the road with new offerings within weeks and not within quarters.
Thomas, that historical contrast is amazing. When you said the names, immediately the processes came into my mind, right? And in the end, a lot of productivity in the enterprise is about how to manage a process and do it repeatedly over and over again, using good principles of component design architecture so that your speed to market increases, right? And our big aha in building this platform was in ecosystem, the business process is running across companies, right? It's a cross-company business process. So we built a platform to support a cross-company business process, and it requires a cross-company data model that supports this process to happen reliably. But once the process is defined, multiple different solutions of different natures can leverage the same process and come to market. Even if they leverage different partners, the process is the same. And therefore, organizations also learn how to run the process effectively. And so in that context, Vishy, let me turn to you. The 5G markets have a variety of use cases, almost every industry has different needs and solutions, and different solutions can be built to service those needs. In the ecosystem NXT offering that that Wipro provides to our customers, your organization has developed services, muscle, and methodology to help our shared customers build out a portfolio of 5G solutions. So what ecosystem NXT advice would you give to a customer who is rolling out a program to build out these variety of 5G solutions?
That's a good question, Mayank. See, the entire success of 5G is not just about rolling out a network. It's all about making money out of it or monetizing that particular network. And hence, what happens is you need to prepare solutions for multiple customer segments, and for each of the customer segment, probably many solutions, because you do not know which of those solutions are going to be more successful than the others, and hence you are able to monetize your investments. Then each of those solutions are going to be built using multiple types of technologies coming together. You did allude to that in your slide that you presented, right? So you look at the type of complexity now we are talking about. You're saying 5G solution for multiple types of customers or multiple industry verticals, let's say. And for each of those industry verticals, you have many such solutions, and each solution uses multiple technologies. And each of those technologies can come from more than one partner. And today, in the world of co-opetition, you do work with multiple partners of who bring in similar type of capabilities. Hence, you end up with a very complex and a matrix type of ecosystem concept, right? And for any organization to manage this complex ecosystem is not going to be easy doing it out of a very traditional pen and pencil type of a method, or a typical Excel sheet type of a method, or any other method. And hence, it becomes important that you follow some very structured processes for you to roll out each one of these services that you're going to be doing, and ensure that the nuances of each of those services, each of those industry verticals, you are able to capture and manage. And the significant strength that a partner brings in, because you can't do all of these yourself, the strength that the partner brings in, you are able to leverage that to the maximum. So you need to literally orchestrate multiple partners, multiple capabilities, multiple industry verticals, multiple offerings together. And one of the key things that EcosystemXP as a solution that both of us together, both of our organizations together are taking to the market, is to solve that complexity that is involved in orchestrating across each of these sets of complexities that we spoke about, right? So my piece of advice would be, try to do your ecosystem, do your 5G solutions build using some sort of a structured methodology, and which is repeatable, which you can make use of to help solve the complexity that is involved in building this entire solution set.
So if we manage the complexity using a shared process between yourself and the partners, and have a methodology of how the coordination will be done, have a methodology around how quickly certification suites can be built and executed so that solutions come to market faster. So there is this efficiency and productivity gain that can come from it. But Thomas, as an industry leader, I've had several conversations with you where you have started advocating to your customers that customers should think about embedding ecosystem orchestration in their OSS and BSS systems. So can you explain what this is and how this how this can be enabled?
Yeah, Mayank. So as I worked with your team for now about 6 months, we have been seeing multiple facets of opportunities around the WorkSpan platform. And let me start with one key discipline in any technology organization, of which I was part for many years. That is the strategy and architecture function in a typical, call it a CIO department, where you're laying out your roadmaps for your technologies, you're planning around this, and your platforms and your applications and your products that you're creating, co-creating with partners, SIs, technology partners, cloud hyperscalers. They need to be planned, they need to be governed. So it is a process where traditionally enterprise architecture management tools were used. And this is a perfect interface to start with and expand into the ecosystem cloud, where it comes to the artifacts along the process to make them reusable. So that's a starting point where any organization today, can think of a first use case to interface with the EAM, enterprise architecture management process, and the technology governance processes. So that's a starting point. Then you want to make some of those solutions reusable. Once you have them, you want to roll them out to partners, and you want to share them with customers. We had a recent example that we're working on in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in NEOM, which is probably the most fascinating development program in the world. And in NEOM, they have this great and broad vision to develop a city operating system, a smart city, a mega city operating system. And NEOM will only be the first beneficiary of that system, and all the investments of partners coming together from the whole spectrum of IoT, smart city, industrial solutions. And the beneficiaries in the second wave will be all the other cities around the world that have an interest in picking up some of those offerings that come out of this ecosystem, which have been successfully implemented, and apply them to their own scenarios. And that is a tremendous synergy that we have there, because historically every city, each and individually, had to do it themselves and have to go through a governance process, the technology management processes, and so forth. Very tedious, very expensive, and not scalable process. This is why the whole smart city vision, which is around for a decade now, has not really made the progress that we all have been hoping for. Despite of a lot of interest from all various stakeholders, it hasn't progressed. But here's the opportunity. WorkSpan can increase the reach of the investment dollars significantly. It's a multiplier to the investment dollars, and that is something that should be considered from a non-technologist perspective, from a business planner perspective. And then going forward, not only the planning, the digitalization, the offering management, the opportunity management is digital, we are also moving now in the transactional space. So we are able to use WorkSpan as a headless B2B hub, as a headless wholesale or even dropship marketplace, so to speak. So to use a bit of a retail analogy in the words. And any existing digital channel at a partner can be interfaced with that. And that leads me to the OSS and BSS integration. If you have a digital channel, and I just use the most prominent one, which is really an impressive story, is Shopify. It's only a 15-year-old company and currently valued close to $100 billion. And Shopify, I've done it myself multiple times over, allows me to create an online business literally within hours. I can connect it to multiple marketplaces, dropship marketplaces, and I can start transacting within less than 24 hours and have a functioning online business. If I have digital channels like Shopify or existing implementations in my organization, I can connect them to the headless marketplace and I can start transacting. I can take an offering from a operator like Verizon, and I can include it into my offerings that I sell to my partners in my region, and combine the offering. It's a transparent process. I can add my system integration, my on-site services. I can add my own IP and value creation to that and sell it to my customers. So it's a very versatile partner to X platform to me as such. And this integration capability with the OSSs and BSSs, so that's the CRMs, the ERPs, anything to do with digital channels, but also to do with the monitoring of those solutions, the utilization. This data can flow back to the respective systems. And traditionally, we had the operator example today. The IT integration is a very, very costly thing. Operators spend every year hundreds of millions for IT integration to support their various offerings. When they create an SDN solution, it costs them a lot of money to do all the IT integration behind that. And here we have an opportunity through the open, completely API-based integration to really speed these processes up and really reduce the time to market.
Fascinating, right? So in your vision, you're observing that the business process is no longer within a single company to deliver service to the end customer. There's orchestration needed with other companies, other partners in your ecosystem. And so if you start thinking at the OSS, BSS layer about how those internal processes extend into the partner companies via events, right? The force multiplier and the speed time to market really amplifies.
That's exactly the value. So the traditional ERP systems, let's say, to put it this way, the BSSs that constitute this, or the partner relationship, or the sales support tools like the CRMs, they can actually extend their processes very easily, and there is a very smart data model across the organizations of the partners. And that to me is the call it the crown jewels that WorkSpan has, started to build the foundations on.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's what helps us engage with diverse partners, with diverse partner programs, and enables us to configure. And
we have probably a lot of participants today in today's calls, who run, partner programs for decades. I'll remember companies like Citrix, which I used to leverage in my former professional life. And when I introduced solutions that I built on Citrix, it was an incredibly tedious process for me to make sure that at the end, when I integrated it, that I could claim my, affiliate rewards and so forth. It was a very manual process. I had to send copies back and forth with emails and so forth. And that, was a very cumbersome thing. And sometimes, those processes just fell through. Transacting with Microsoft, for example, over years has been very frustrating for me as a smaller partner in my former life. Only the bigger partners who made the sales got the commissions for it. because there was no integration, digital way of doing these things. And that is what is changing now with your platform.
So as Thomas mentioned, extending the process outside of a company to your partner companies, now there would be competitors in the ecosystem that a company is simultaneously partnering with. So Vishy, in our conversations, you have often brought up the point that the ecosystem orchestrator, the customer needs to anticipate conflict and build in good methodology and process to spot conflicts early and to manage it through the entire process. And to manage conflict well is to increase trust in the ecosystem, which Chip's poll revealed most of the attendees today are really thinking about how to establish trust as a key challenge. So Vishy, what are your thoughts on why is conflict so important to manage, and how could companies manage this such conflict in their ecosystem?
Typically, whenever we partner today, almost everywhere it's given that you're not going to have one downstream partner or one upstream partner. When you make a joint solution, it's not going to be just one partner whom you're going to work with. And similarly, when you sell your solution, you're not going to sell through only one particular channel. In both cases, because you're going to be working with many people, there has to be a systematic methodology to register multiple partners and work with them with complete trust. I'll give you some examples. We in Wipro have partnered with some of the largest names in the technology area, and all our partners do partner with other system integration software services companies around the world, right? And for a long time, it was very difficult for them to, suppose, for example, I bring a particular solution or a particular customer to the table. It was very difficult for the technology company, who's our partner, to ensure that there is a sanctity that is kept for the person who brought the solution in. Typically, one part of the organization is working with Wipro, another part of the organization is working with one of Wipro's competitors. So there cannot be probably a shared data or a shared process step that ensures that there is no conflict. So it may so happen that both of these partners get the commitment from the technology vendor that they will support us for a given requirement, right? So that's a very common thing that happened, that used to happen in those days, when you're partnering, and it happens even today. And and it's also important that you're not, by partnering with only one organization, you're also limiting your worldview of what you can achieve with the partnership. So it's imperative for everyone to partner with more than one company. The only way that you can sort of not bring in mistrust in when you have a conflict situation like this is to have a systematic methodology to approach, have a process in place, and ensure that the artifacts that govern these partnerships are shared and are known to all the stakeholders within that segment, right? So it's very easy for you to make them into silos and say that I will partner with Wipro only for this, and I'll partner with another company only for this. But that doesn't bring in the problem of, or that doesn't bring in the field of opportunity that's available in front of you. Probably it's important to have a many-to-many relationship, but at the same time ensure that there is a integrity and sanctity that is maintained for each one of those relationships. And hence, I think it's one of the important reasons why a platform like WorkSpan, and our EcosystemXP program could help people who are partnering to ensure that the conflicts gets identified early on, and there is an amicable way of resolution that comes in.
Vishy, that's spot on. So most, without a methodology and a process, without the ability to contain data and access control, sharing of intellectual property, most companies today tend to favor in conflict avoidance. So they would do conflict avoidance by having one preferred partner for a particular use case in a particular market, and that means you are paying a cost at the total addressable market level, right? Because
yes, no single company loss. Yeah.
And so that opportunity cost could be also managed by planning your portfolio of solutions better upstream, and having a review process of what solutions in what markets are green lighted, so that conflict can be deliberately minimized. So could you talk a little bit about the art of portfolio management and the lessons you have learned in building so many solutions across Wipro's history?
The major part of what we do, we are a services organization, so hence we don't have a product of our own. So almost all of that we do for our customers have to be built using some partnership or the other, right? So in the last 20 plus years of our existence in this market, definitely we have worked with multiple partners, and some of those partnerships have been there for decades. And in the absence of a system like WorkSpan, the way that we used to have is have champions for each one of those partnerships, and ensure those champions who are appointed for each of these partnerships, they are they have a sharing responsibility along with somebody who is in the other side as well. So it's a one-to-one pairing that happens between somebody from within Wipro and somebody from the partners organization, who look into their organization and get in all the muscle, all the capabilities, and all the attention that is required to make this partnership win. And a close governance, a close one-to-one relationship between people was what was helping all of these partnerships all along. And over a long period, there's a building of trust that happens, and then there's also a fair upfront conversation when there is a conflict. When you realize value between the two partnerships, and you also let go many a time, saying that okay, there is enough market for all of us to use, all of us to benefit out of. Letting go a small piece so that the partner wins is something that has always been in the blood, right? So it's been in the genes of people who have been partnering for a long time. So that's how we have been managing all along this way. But let me tell you that it's getting difficult to do it only by this pairing. One of the key things that we do as the CTO organization within Wipro is look at a partnership which is a little bit slightly different from this technology and services type of a partnership. We have partnership with academicians, for some of the research that we do. We partner with something like 600 startup companies. It's very, very difficult for you to pinpoint and say that what is it that this particular company brings versus the other, and how you avoid conflict. Right? We partner with quite a lot. We partner with customers now. There are co-innovation and co-development work that we do with a lot of our customers, and of course, in all of those technology partners that we work with. So it's a very, very complex ecosystem that is being, and one-on-one relationship with a lot of interpersonal trust and building scale. It doesn't scale. I think time has come when we need to think about doing something very systematically and methodically, and there is a shared set of process and artifacts that happens between all these type of partnerships that works together, right? I think that's the only way that we can scale from now on, growing our business and working with a lot of partners.
Well said. Let's now open it up to the audience. Would you have a question that I could ask the panelists on your behalf?
Yes, Mayank. So there are a couple of questions. One is from Alfredo. So terrific session, first of all. This has really been awesome. Thank you, Mayank, for conducting and asking some really penetrating questions that get to some really interesting answers, and Vishy and Thomas, terrific conversation. So here's a question from Alfredo, and Alfredo is asking, so what are some successful methods to incorporate the idea of rapid prototyping when engaging with multiple parties within an ecosystem? And then he kind of comes over and says, the question is referring to ecosystem prototyping, not product prototyping. And Thomas talked a little bit about that, but maybe if you could elaborate a little bit.
Ecosystem prototyping, let me route this question to Vishy. Vishy, you had mentioned that the ecosystem is very diverse and you have 600 startups. You had mentioned academia previously. as well as a customer as a partner. So how do you do rapid prototyping of what combinations work and what don't?
So, typically most of these ecosystem prototyping starts with some problem statement that comes from one of our customers typically. And then, we rope them into co-innovation. And then with this 600 odd curated, startups that we have, the type of research work that we're doing with academia and establish partnerships on technology, we need to identify what is that one thing which is going to work the best for solving this particular problem for the customer, right? So the combination of all of these people, the academia, the startups, the established companies, and the customer themselves, when Wipro together, we are able to, if you are able to identify what is that solution component, or which is that one partner or a set of partners who are able to solve this question, quickly. And we are able to put them all together to work together, and that's where the prototyping works. And we have something called a makers lab within our system, where we bring this ecosystem together to create a solution quickly. It's not, as you said rightly, it is not about creating the solution quickly. To look at the feasibility of this set of partners coming together and solving the problem quickly. If there is a match between the thinking process and there is a commitment toward delivering that particular goal, and that in very, very similar to your agile processes, even the ecosystem processes have to be agile now. You have to set a time limit. You have to know what are the milestones and outcomes that needs to happen out of that, and fail fast. If this ecosystem is not going to work together for solving that particular customer problem, you need to fail fast and move on to the next set of ecosystem, right? And that is one of the reasons why there is so much of complexity in the type of partnerships that we are speaking, right? Similar types of solutions that you have from multiple partners, and you're able to bring them together for solving a single problem.
Yeah, let me give you a practical example. We had between May and July a window of opportunity in the market where it was becoming apparent that the business were allowed to open up around the world in certain phases. And social distancing was one of the criteria to be maintained. So there was a need from an employer perspective to go safely back to work, whether it was a production line, whether it was a retail store, to ensure that the social distancing measures are being maintained by employees. And we called them the so-called COVID tracker solutions, and which is a combination of various wearable devices, wirelessly connected sensors, a backend cloud reporting solution, typically constituted from multiple vendors, multiple partners. And we had to quickly bring them together with the demand that we got from half a dozen of verticals. We had retail verticals, we had refineries, we had oil and gas companies, we had auto OEMs and tier ones that all needed a certain type of solutions on the way. And that orchestration to bring this together very quickly to see who has the right solutions, how can we bring the demand that we see coming in from our sales forces in those weeks, how can we bring this together with solutions, and how can we drive it? That's the tremendous value of WorkSpan, to really facilitate these processes, which otherwise would have taken months to turn around. But these solutions were needed literally within 2 weeks or 3 weeks of time. So it had to be absolutely rapidly, and that was a good proving point.
Actually, that's so spot on. So we have seen in our customer anecdotes that this prototyping, early idea validation, and then working the entire process that used to take 6 months to 9 months to do, in the best cases, it has shrunk down to weeks, 4 to 6 weeks. You can get things out, test it, and if it doesn't, then you move on to the next one, right? Because that's key. Agile processes are key, but you can't run an agile process without the right tools.
Yes,
that's just impossible to do. And putting the right tools and the right agile methodology to bear on these, where repeatable steps are done, clear tasks are assigned, returns and chain or handoffs are orchestrated. That's
And
our
this
company business process.
And these disruptive events will continue, as we all know, across our businesses, our customers' businesses, our partner businesses, and we need some method to the madness here. And WorkSpan, has a key asset that helps us, contribute to this, agility that we need to span those processes across customers to really become a high velocity delivery partner for ecosystem-based solutions.
We're tremendously excited about our partnership because our platform is complemented so well with the deep methodology that Wipro team has in delivering services and right from engineering products all the way up to packaging, certifying, and launching, and then participating in orchestrating an ecosystem so that co-selling becomes easier. Right at the end, like Trina was saying, partnering is with the end in mind, and co-selling and orchestration is something that you have to think upfront as you engage in the co-build processes. So, gentlemen, it's been a real pleasure talking to you. And unfortunately, time doesn't wait for any of us. So with that thought in mind, Chip, back to you. And we are proud to be partnering.